Duke, should we start now?
Yeah, why not?
So my plan is to talk about Flavius Aetius first because he is Garrison commander. So people are more interested in Scipio. Maybe we can quickly talk about Flavius, and then I think we need more time to talk about Scipio, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, again, it's we haven't seen these guys yet. We know their skills, so we can speculate. But any of the actual pairings, we'll just have to wait until they're out, and then you can test
So
them.
this yeah, that's guy for sure. deals 2,300 damage to a single target, and if the target has been reduced to 50% of or fewer units, he deals continuous additional damage for 3 seconds, and every second 150. So in total, he deals plus 450 damage, and in total, this makes 750, right? So how you feel about this skill?
Oh, I mean, it's for a garrison, it's pretty astounding just quite how much the damage is. It's I think the damage over time adds like an interesting dynamic to that, especially since with the condition being below 50%, that's basically not as great for field, but against a rally, that'll always be active.
Yeah, that's almost active, right? All the time.
Yep. Um, if you look at just how big a damage modifier Zenobia is, it's pretty significant when you're comparing it to what the current rallies are going to be. So I
Yeah,
think
so
as
that's a great skill.
you'll see mostly Flavius's secondary, you'll want to augment that damage buff as much as possible.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So his second skill is 15% attack bonus, and in Garrison it's 15% defense, 15% health. So in total, 45% of stats. How do you feel about that?
I mean, again, it's 45% stats. That's just overall a fantastic skill. A lot of people are going to be looking to use Flavius in the field. This is in for open field, not that pretty underwhelming, just 50% attack, but
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
overall, it's a solid skill.
So his third skill increases troop counterattack damage by 20% when maxed, and when troops are garrison, normal attacks inflict a debuff on the target that increases the damage they take from infantry by 1% for 15 seconds, and stacking up to 10 times when maxed, and this can trigger every 10 seconds, so we can go up to 10% damage taken from infantry. I mean, how do you feel about this skill? I think this is also superb when you consider counter rallies, right?
Right. I think this is going to be a big deal, especially paired with the expertise, because again, this is built for those garrison situations where the rally's going to be going on for a little while, and you're going to get those stacks pretty quickly, and
Yeah,
then that's
yeah,
just going to
that's
be
right.
consistently improving all your damage and the nuke, the counterattack, normal attack damage, everything.
Yeah, it just simply increases everything. And in his next skill, we also have that increases all damage dealt by 10% when maxed, and when launching a normal attack against a target inflicted with an additional damage effect, which is in his first skill, there is a 100% chance when maxed of inflicting silence for 2 seconds, and this effect can trigger every 7 seconds, so you can simply silence your target for 2 seconds every 7 seconds. I think this completely kills XY. No?
Um, well, it depends because it's power it's pretty good, but I would say again it just sort of works as a delay of sorts, right? Like you're slowing down potentially the skill cast regularly, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee it's going to land on
Ah, yeah, of course. Of
a
course.
commander's active every single time. I think it's a very good disruptive skill, and again, if we're talking about for field, it's nice with that Scipio expertise, but I think people may be reading into quite how powerful it will be a little much. It should just be a steady, a pretty reliable thing to affect rage, especially like you said on commanders like XY.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think you said the perfect word, reliable is, I think, the perfect thing to explain this skill. And for his expertise, decreases all damage taken by 10%, which is nice. And we have the same thing.
Absolutely.
We have, when using active skill, 30% chance to inflict 2 stacks of a debuff. Again, this debuff increases their damage taken from infantry by 1%, and stacking up to 10 times. This effect can trigger once every 10 seconds. So in total, this guy can increase the damage taken from especially infantry 30%. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you combine that with Xeno's active buff, if you're running Xeno Flavius, then you're going to have a 60% all damage buff to Flavius's nuke
Yeah.
every time that gets cast once all these buffs get into effect. So that's pretty remarkable.
So when it comes to Flavius, I assume that the first pair that comes to mind is Zenobia primary and Flavius secondary, right? Do you have other options?
Yeah. I think Xeno Flavius is going to be the go-to for most people. There could be some use with Flavius YSS, but I'd wait for testing on that.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think Xeno's needed this buff for a while now with Gilgamesh, and now Attila Nevsky really
Yeah,
put the
definitely.
hurt on him. So
Yeah, that's right. Zeno needed to come back to the field. I mean, to the garrison, of
right,
course.
and I think Flavius just makes a perfect secondary for her
Flavian,
now.
thank you so much. Now we move to the big boy, Scipio Africanus. He deals direct damage up to 3 targets in a forward-facing fan-shaped area. Damage factor goes up to 2k, and damage dealt for each target is always, this is the regular thing, reduced by 15%. And successfully hit targets also suffers from 30% reduced health for 3 seconds. What do you say, Duke?
I'd say this is what we've been waiting for a long time. I mean, Guan really kind of set a new standard for open field, and since then we just haven't really seen anyone like this for infantry. Just fantastic damage skill with a debuff that strong. So
Yeah, I love this skill. I mean, I'm just curious about, like, is this fan-shaped area like Ethelflaed's or Sun Tzu's? That's what I'm
I'm probably
wondering.
going to guess this might be a tighter one than say you're probably closer to like a Guan Yu fan than a Leo fan.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this skill is already
Yeah.
so good. Like, making it bigger will be like crazy, right?
Right, right. And I think it's intentional that they only restricted it to 3 targets instead of 5 like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
XY.
definitely, definitely.
So, but
So
again, just
yeah, please go ahead.
absurdly strong open field skill for anyone really. And the fact also that you can use him secondary to Guan or whoever you're going to on your as an infantry march. This basically, if you're going to run an infantry march, you should have this guy in your lineup.
Yeah, you gotta have him right. So his second skill says increases infantry units attack by 40%, march speed 15%, and march speed outside of alliance territory another 10%. Like, that's basically 90% of the time you are outside of your alliance territory, unless you are losing super hard. So he got 40% attack, 25% movement speed. I mean, I already know that you love the movement speed, but I mean, 40% attack is great, right? I mean, 40% stats
Yeah,
plus
no, this is
25%
like
movement speed.
this kind of reminds me of like an Alex skill, just heavy attack, lots of move speed, exactly what you want.
Yeah, like that's a really nice skill. His third skill is increases health by 20% and grants each attack a 10% chance to deal continuous additional damage for 3 seconds, 500, so 1500 damage in total, and this can trigger every 8 seconds. I also really like this skill. I mean, I love health bonus and plus 1500 additional damage factor. I mean, we know how frequently we can hit with Alexander's 10% chance skill, so this is exactly the same. I think it's just too much damage. This is crazy.
There is a slight difference between this and Alex's nuke, and just that Alex's nuke doesn't have a cooldown. But this one is again fantastic. I'm a huge
Oh,
fan
that's
of
right. That's right. He doesn't have a cooldown,
instant
right?
proc damage. Yeah, yeah, and again, Alex is just a fantastic commander, and always
Yeah,
has been.
I love him. Yeah.
You know, but with Scipio, this is an interesting skill because just the condition on that health bonus, it makes it so it's going to be a little punishing when you're pulling your march back
Yeah, when
because
retreating,
you have
right?
to be attacking for that health bonus. Yeah, so definitely he's vulnerable to sort of like when he's retreating.
Yeah,
But
definitely. You need to attack him to get the 20% health bonus.
yeah, so it's just something to be aware of when you're pulling back that you're going to be more vulnerable than some of your other marches, just because you're also losing. In addition to probably having lower troops, you're going to be losing that 20% health.
His next skill is when troops on the map take skill damage, there's a 50% chance of reducing that damage by 30% when maxed and forming a shield that covers up to 3 allied troops for 3 seconds, damage factor 500. This effect can trigger every 8 seconds, so in total this is a 1500 shield for your troops. How do you feel about it?
The shield is interesting. Now, 500 direct damage factor is not a lot.
Yeah.
It's a very small bonus, but it isn't the main interest I have in it is just that regardless of what march Scipio is on, this can help trigger Guan's expertise.
Yeah, definitely. That
Right,
was
you
the
get
first thing
that
that came
shield
to
with
my mind.
15% skill damage. Um, this skill is probably the least the least interesting of his, which is why I think for a lot of players, especially those looking to save on heads, 5551 is going to be, sort of that early benchmark
Hmm.
because you're getting most of his damage at that point, and even at 10%, you're sort of getting a good amount of the skill.
Yeah, that's right. So, can I ask two stupid
Um,
questions about this skill, very quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So, my first one is, man, this is gonna sound so stupid. It says it covers up to 3 allied troops. Does this also applies for Scipio, or it doesn't apply for Scipio and it applies
To
to
my
allied troops?
understanding, right, right. To my understanding, it will prioritize your own marches, so it'll always go for, if you have three marches in the area, it's always going to focus on yours first, and it always prioritizes itself first.
Oh,
So
all
in
right.
reality,
So,
this is Scipio and then two allies.
oh, that's
Increases
great.
skill
Skill damage dealt by 10%, and when target is silenced, rage grows 30% faster.
Yeah. So again, this is a decent expertise. I wouldn't say it's game breaking or anything like that, but 10% skill damage bonus, pretty nice.
Yeah.
Um, with the silence. So this is just a point I'll make now, but you don't necessarily have to have Scipio in a march with Guan to get this bonus. As
Yeah,
a matter of fact, you
definitely,
don't even
right?
have to have Guan necessarily in your lineup. You just need the target to be silent. So if anyone's hitting that target with a Guan, then your Scipio is going to get a buff from it.
Yeah, so it's simply like Tomyris's debuff, right? You don't need to
Yep.
apply that debuff. You just hit the target, and if it's silence, your rage will grow 30% faster. You don't need to apply that silence.
Right.
So,
Right. And it's going to be your march that's benefiting from it. So
yeah,
that
definitely.
does make I guess it does make Scipio Flavius a little interesting if you want to get a few seconds of that extra rage, but I wouldn't really go chasing this too much. It's a moderate buff, but not the end of the world, and I wouldn't sacrifice good pairings looking to maximize on this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when I take a look at this skill, the first thing that came to my mind was, let's say, Flavius in Garrison, and you launch a counter rally with Scipio. Flavius silences the target, and plus Scipio also deals additional damage, so this can trigger uh, Flavius's third skill, in my opinion. Sorry if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. No, it's fourth skill. if target is inflicted by additional damage.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a nice synergy. Like if Flavius in the Garrison, a counter rally from
Yeah.
Scipio could be really nice because there are some decent synergies between them.
Right. Now, if you're familiar with, I believe Wick did a video on this just about how some additional damage does not
Yeah, does not
count
count,
as
right?
additional damage for schools or for skills. So
Yeah.
that'll be up for testing.
Yeah,
Right. We'll want to
definitely. We
see
can probably
how
test a
those
bit
two
latent power.
interact with each other. But
Uh,
um, but regardless, I think if you're hitting the rally with or even swarming a rally, then you're going to be getting a lot of additional damage buffs.
yeah, that's right. If you guys didn't know, some additional damage doesn't count like the others. But the only reason that I like almost 100% certain that CPO's additional damage will because the wording on the first skill of Flavius is identical with the wording on this third skill of CPO. Both says dealing continuous additional damage for 3 seconds. So I assume that this will work 100%. I mean, if it doesn't, don't hate on me, but this is just my opinion, people. So
Oh, we'll see again.
yeah, my next question is, so this is gonna be 1, 2, 3. Let's say we are using one infantry march and we have all commanders available. Which march would that be?
I kind of I've been thinking about this one a little bit. It's probably going to be Guan Scipio, I think. Just you have great damage with Guan. Obviously, a lot of synergy between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Some very punishing, damage between those two actives. And I want to, if you have Scipio as secondary, good rage build on Guan, you're going to be firing those AOE fans very quickly and getting a lot of silence. So I think there's a lot of synergy. That said, I will be interested to see how Scipio and Harald perform. I think there's a lot of underrated synergy between those two as well.
Yeah, I was I was actually thinking about that, and I had a few questions for you. We will get into that. And next,
Absolutely.
I also when it comes to Guan Yu and Scipio, I like the fact that, I mean, Leonidas has a conditional shield like 50%. You should be retreating when you're at 50%. For
Yeah.
Guan Yu's
So
expertise. Alexander pops the shield with active skills, so when Alexander is secondary, it is almost impossible for Guan Yu to benefit from that. But Scipio can actually give you that shield anytime, so I really like that. And plus the silence, rage grow, I think it's also really good. Probably my answer would be the same. One march would be Guan and Scipio. And how about 2 marches? 2 infantry marches. Who you gonna use?
two marches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go Guan Leo, Scipio, Harald.
And the third one, let's say we are using three marches.
We're gonna say three. I did throw up a question. I was asking this about from people earlier. What would you think is the best three march? I think that's kind of the sweet spot for a lot of players.
Yeah,
If you're running a infantry heavy lineup, you'll be looking for three marches. Um, and again, we're just gonna see how these commanders are when they come out and we'll test. But if I had to, what I'm thinking I'll be working towards is Guan Leo, either Pakal Herald or Herald Pakal, depending on how I want to adjust my rally tree, and then Scipio with CJ.
so my next question is, it's about Scipio and Harald. So since Scipio has support tree, how do you say like about rejuvenate? In support tree, it's
Rejuvenate.
yeah,
Yeah.
instantly restores 150 rage whenever skill is used. And since Harald can actually pop his skill again and again with 20% chance, I think this could be like I see a really nice synergy between them. How you feel about CPO and Harald? Because most people
Yeah.
don't want to
So
split their Guan Yu and Leonidas.
right. If you're sitting there with Scipio, we'll see when he comes out how he trades with Harold. I've seen for the most part Harold trades fairly well
Yeah,
with most commanders, though I've never been too much of a fan of Juan and Harold together. But I think Scipio will should work a little better, especially with that extra extra tankiness from the support tree. If you go down to that bottom skill, emergency protection, I believe it's called,
Hmm.
in the support tree, that's going to be really nice in the field, just as reliable, a reliable skill damage reduction.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
If
and some,
Please go ahead. I was just gonna say one thing because my game screen is too small right now. If you guys cannot read the skill emergency, I mean the talent emergency protection, it says when troops led by this commander take skill damage, there's a 50% chance that they will gain an additional 15% skill damage reduction for next 3 seconds. So this is an amazing skill on the support tree. So please go ahead, Duke.
yeah, and you combine that with the all around 9% damage reduction that's higher up in that tree. Sorry, skill damage reduction that's up in that tree, as well as some of the skills on the left side of the infantry tree, which you should always go for. It'll have a bit of tankiness in that tree.
Yeah, health
Something I'm
bonus,
also
strong
interested
body,
in.
like there are great skills. Hold the line.
Yep, hold the line, fantastic skill.
That's right, definitely I agree with
Really,
that.
really the best skill in the infantry tree. But something I'm interested in with Flavius and Harald that I'll be looking forward to using is Snare of Thorns.
Oh, Snare of Thorns. So this one,
Yep.
let me show you guys
So
the
if
skill.
you don't know, Snare of Thorns is triggered also based off of your active skill. So similar to emergency protection, you're going to be able to proc that anytime Harald casts his active, and that has an area of effect to it. That's the one on the end, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So right there. So it goes all the way up to 25% march speed reduction for 3 seconds on 5 targets.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Also,
Yep.
just like you said, it also triggers with the skill, active skill. So again, the same synergy that we have on Rejuvenate.
Yeah, yeah. So each turn Herald's casting is active, you're getting that 150 rage as well as 25% area of effect march speed reduction. That's a pretty nasty pair for trapping marches,
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
if you want to have that in your murder ball with all the speed Scipio has. It's going to be able to stay on the target and really trap them for your other marches to catch those low health marches.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. I mean, I think CPO, like just like Guan and CPO, CPO primary Herald. By the way, would you use CPO as primary or secondary or for CPO and Herald? I keep saying
For
primary,
Scipio
but
and Herald,
yeah.
um, I'd have to see it in the field. Now, the nice part about the support tree is the little tricks like that. Again, it's more durable, and also you have that advantage of using Scipio first. You do want that defense or that health reduction on his primary skill
Oh
to
yeah, his
fire
first skill,
first.
right?
Yeah, and obviously the synergy with Herald and the support tree. But if you do, the skill tree does have more just in general damage, especially for skill buffs.
That's
Right?
right. That's right.
There's a good amount of rage regeneration in that tree as well. So it may be that you're going to get more damage out of Herald Scipio, and a lot of people will prefer to go for that.
Hmm.
Or if you're looking at your 5 March and you're looking for more variety, Scipio primary would probably be better.
We talked about Flavius. Talked about CPO, their skills, their best payers, their best uses, minimum investment, all that good stuff. And we talked about them, all of them, with the best player we could ever have as a guest here, Duke from the Infantry Fortress. On the pinned message, you can find the link, the Discord link to the Infantry Fortress. Definitely go ahead and check it out. Even if you have one infantry march, you will find a lot of information on that Discord. Duke, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else to say? I mean, it was a pleasure to have you here to review the infantry commanders. I mean, literally, you were the best person that I could ever ask for to review those commanders.
Hey, it was I was very happy that you invited me here. Just glad to talk about infantry anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And Yeah, uh, just to clarify, I didn't actually make the infantry fortress. That was three. There's a fantastic infantry player over in Kingdom 1365,
Oh,
Azen, and he is the founder. I've done a lot of work with the infantry fortress. It's a fantastic community. I've been glad to um, contribute as much as I can. But definitely, all credit to Azen for building that community at the start.
yeah. So thank you, Ethan. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. All credits to you. And guys, you can see the Discord on my screen. Like there is infantry discussion, pairings, gear, open field discussion, events, like even skill trees for every single commander. So definitely go ahead and check it out. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching and liking the stream. I see you guys on the next one. And Duke, thank you so much again. Goodbye.
Spartan, have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.